Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Covering both sides of the big issues with the analysis you trust on Newsradio 1040 WHO.
In Massachusetts, there's a guy called John Oliveria, and he says 6 of his Trump-Pence 2020 signs were stolen right off his front lawn. So since mid-May, he has a new sign up, which is a Trump sign, and it's now protected by an electric fence. So we thought we'd ask a lawyer. Quentin Brogdon is joining us right now. Welcome back. It's been a while. How are you?
Doing well, Simon. How are you?
I am just fine. This guy is a 20-year Navy vet. He's filed police reports about the thefts, but now a few weeks ago he erected a fence about 3.5 foot high, triangular, electrical, and it's all around the sign. That's only there to protect the sign, and since then his sign has remained untouched. How many laws is he breaking?
Well, you've got to look at 2 different legal sets of issues here. One is the sign, and it doesn't matter whether it's Trump-Pence or Biden-Harris. It really doesn't matter. Many people are going to hear this story, and they're going to look at it through the lens of who the sign was advocating for, but there's a set of laws and protections for political signs. It doesn't matter whose name is on the sign. The U.S. Supreme Court in 2016, it was the case Reed versus Town of Gilbert. They basically said you can't regulate political signs different than any other sign. So you can regulate all signs and say, here is our rule, here's our regulation for signs, but you can't treat them differently. You mentioned HOAs. I don't know if Mr. Oliveira lives in an HOA or not, but it gets a little more gray there because some of the cases talk about living in a homeowners association community, and the fiction is that you have contracted with the homeowners association. You've agreed to pay levies and sometimes unreasonable levies and not paint your house purple. And maybe the first graders enforcing all this, now grown up, and your hedges and signs and all these things. So homeowners association adds a wrinkle, but there's no indication he's a member of that. And then you get into the electric fence issue, and you really just have to check your local law. Different towns have different laws about fences. Even the ones that allow it, though, say you have to have a sign, and this guy, Mr. Oliveira, has a sign in 3 languages, English, Spanish, and French, warning electric fence. And the story notes, since then, the sign has remained untouched. So
yes.
I think he got frustrated, justifiably so, at losing the sign repeatedly, and he put up this fence. I don't know if he's breaking any local laws, but, you can come up with a scenario where a 5-year-old wanders into the fence and doesn't read the sign or can't read the sign and maybe gets hurt. Would he be liable in that circumstance? It's hard to know. So there you have it.
Right. You would think in a rural area, those fences that might give you a jolt would be fairly common, particularly around fields that on an animal farm, as it were. But not so much for corn. But when it comes to animals, then maybe.
Right.
But in urban environments, you're not really thinking you're going to encounter an electric fence. But there is a very easy answer, right? Stay off my property.
Well, the person or the people who kept removing these signs most definitely were committing crimes. I mean, it's theft because the sign belongs to him. It's trespassing because they don't have permission to be on his property. If they're damaging the signs or spray painting them or tearing them up, that's damage to his property. So, we can sugarcoat this. And again, we can get all hung up in whose name was on the sign, Trump-Pence, but make it a Biden-Harris sign and all the same rules apply.
Right, absolutely.
So it doesn't matter whose name's on the sign. It's just it's on his property, and the laws are very protective of your right to have a political sign on your property.
Right. So if you have a political sign on your property and it's been stolen, or as one of my neighbors. I'm broadcasting from home. I can see his yard from here. And his replacement sign is still up, by the way. It's beyond theft, though, isn't it? It's about the weird times we live in, that people are so bent out of shape over politicians. And again, you're right. I don't care which side of the aisle you're on. You shouldn't be messing with other people's political signs. I don't know how much good those things do at all anyway, but if they want to display them, it's their property. They have every right to do so. So what about putting cameras up? Is that a good plan? I mean, the police going to be interested in your camera footage of a political sign being stolen?
Sure. I would think they are. I can have a camera on my own property. I can film my own property. And so, yes, if he had footage of specific individuals who you could identify from the camera, I would presume the police could be and should be interested in that footage. And, again, people doing it could be prosecuted. Most of these sign-stealing cases, when they make the news, it ends up being one political candidate, usually in the lower-level races, stealing political signs out of the yards for the other political candidate, and then it goes viral and it's used against the one who did the sign stealing. And they're on video jumping back into their pickup truck holding the sign, and it's always a big splash.
Yes.
So people have been filmed stealing signs. Most definitely, it's been in the news.
Right, because you have no expectation of privacy if you set foot on my property uninvited, right?
That's right. But there are limitations on what you can do. There were some cases that we had to study in law school about in the 1800s, the use of spring guns. And spring guns, and there's some places they're still used, actually, but they're illegal in many places, and they are usually shotguns that are automatically set to go off if someone opens the door. So if I have my apartment locked and I have a spring gun behind the door and it's locked and the maintenance man comes in and gets his head blown off, well, I'm almost certainly violated criminal statutes. I know in my home state of Texas there are laws about spring guns. So just because it's your property does not mean you can set up something automatically to go enforce that might kill or seriously injure somebody. He says in the report that it is a, quote, horse wire, implying it's a 12-volt charge or something like that. But if he puts some electrical shock out there that would kill someone or paralyze them or seriously injure them, I think we'd be talking about something very different. This is going to cause someone a jolt if they get near it or try to get to the signs. And as I said, the report says since then the sign remained untouched. So it's scared away everybody. It may have no electric power in it. Who knows?
Right, exactly.
It's electrified when it really isn't.
Yeah. It's like the signs that you can put up in your front yard that point out that your next door neighbor is unarmed.
Right.
But you are not.
In Texas, we see signs that say Smith & Wesson protects this premises.
Exactly. Yes. Same here. All right. Well, Quentin, thank you very much for coming on. I always enjoy it when you do. If you want to find out more about this particular gentleman, cbrlawfirm.com. cbrlawfirm.com. Quentin Brogdon, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Simon. Stay safe in Des Moines.
Absolutely, we will do. You take care.